Round one comes to an end Saturday night, but before that happens, we have a chance to win $36,000. Hey there, everybody. Welcome on into this episode of Winning Bets. I'm your host, Jason Mattis. As always, this is my weekly NASCAR show where we look back at last week's race and then preview the upcoming race while we submit our chance to win $25,000 over on the Jackpot Races app, another $10,000 over on the NBC Sports Predictor app, and then you can win $1,000 over on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Unfortunately, I had to roll solo tonight. My co-host, William Blackwell, was unable to join me there tonight, but we look forward to getting him back with us next week. With that being said, let's go ahead and remember last week's race. Obviously, it was the Federated Auto Parts 400 down there in Richmond, Virginia. Martin Truex Jr. obviously got ahead and claimed that victory right there. Overall, though, Joe Gibbs Racing, they were really dominating. You had Denny Hamlin up at front. You always had Martin Truex Jr., up in front through large parts of that race. And even though, Truex even won that race, you even saw towards the end. I mean, Denny Hamlin was the faster car. He was the faster car majority of the night, and then he was really catching Martin Truex, there towards the end. He obviously, just ran out of laps right there. Talking about fast cars, though, what about in stage one? Obviously, like I said, Martin Truex Jr. was fast. He had to go to the rear. He flew all the way up to the front. But another driver that flew all the way up to the front was Kyle Larson. He was another driver that failed some pre-race inspections and had to move back to the rear. He really just went, throughout the, I think he ended stage one. It was definitely in the top 10. I think maybe it was top 5, but I definitely remember, he was top 10 at that end of that stage one. That was really impressive because he just got to the front really, really fast in that race. But then he fell off. He didn't really have any speed then. Maybe his speed was equal to the others at that point in the race, and he wasn't able to find any additional speed because it really wasn't much of a factor, much of that race. But he did vault up to the front. But again, that was pretty much it for him right there. I actually thought overall, this was a kind of a boring race. You kind of get this at Richmond. You get long green flag runs. And that's exactly what you got there on Saturday night. And I found it boring. And I'm not a guy that needs cautions by any stretch of the imagination. I don't need that. But it just seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of, passing going on. There wasn't a whole lot of lead changes going on. I thought one of the most fascinating, parts of the race was right there at the end of the stage two, and obviously involving Chase Elliott. He had that the pit road mishap right there where he thought he went too far in his box and he didn't. And he backed up and he broke one of his jacks, and obviously took him some extra time trying to get up out of his pit box. But then the drama unfolded with Denny Hamlin passing him and putting him a lap down. And then, obviously then he was trying to put down William Byron. But then Chase Elliott then had to get past William Byron. So then he was the car that would get the free pass once that caution flew at the end of the stage two. So overall boring race, but boy, there was a lot of intrigue right there around Chase Elliott after that pit mishap. And then again with him trying to pretty much just stay on the lead lap or be that one car that would get that free pass after that end of the stage two. So thought that was some good drama right there. I had a decent week last week giving you guys my picks. I did correctly predict the winner. I thought Truex Jr. would have a nice strong showing. I picked Hamlin to finish third. Obviously I missed that by one, but overall I had two of the three guys in that top three with the winner correctly predicted. So I thought I had a pretty decent to a good showing right there at Richmond Raceway going on last week. So yeah, hopefully we get a better race this week. I think you will get a better race this week. They're going down into Bristol, where obviously it's a half-mile track as opposed to a three-quarter-mile track, and Bristol tends to have more crashes. But to me, it's not really the more crashes. That was just a really long green flag runs there in Richmond, which is what you can get at Richmond and what you see. So, but you're not going to get that here at Bristol on a half-mile track, the world's fastest half-mile. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of excitement. Obviously, you get the cutoff race there to end round one. So I think this one's going to be much more exciting and much more entertaining. Let's move it on now over to Bristol. Again, they're at the Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend at the Bass Pro Shop Saturday night race. It's going to be really good. Like I said, it's at Bristol, the last great Coliseum, as they like to call it around there. It's a unique track for me. When I do my handicapping for this, I may look at the short track kind of history of these drivers, but I really just kind of focus in on Bristol and those guys' track history here at Bristol. If we look back in 2020, there were two races. Keselowski and Harvick were the two winners of those two races. I don't think those guys are going to factor in terms of winning this race. You may have Harvick, he may run up in the top 10 like he's kind of been doing large parts of the season, but I don't think him or Keselowski, certainly not Keselowski, I don't think they'll be in contention this weekend for the checkered flag. And again, this is just a really, really big race. Like I said, the last one before the playoffs. So I'm going to go ahead now and throw up these standings. This is the standings that is, or at least the bottom half of the standings. I kind of clipped off the top where you obviously, you've got Kyle Larson already advanced into points. You've obviously got Truex and Hamlin that have got in via wins right there. So, but this is how it looks going on right now. You can kind of see right there. And then Kurt Busch, he's above the cut line, even though he's tied on points there with Bowman, just because he's had better results in these playoff races right there. So that's why he's above the cutoff line. So lots of intrigue going on into this last race in round one. Let's go ahead and now move it over to the Jackpot Races app. This is where you can win $25,000. This is where they give you those 5 groups of drivers. You got to pick the driver to finish best amongst the group, and then you got to go ahead and give them a top 3 finish. I'm going to go ahead in Group 1. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Denny Hamlin. I think Denny Hamlin will be best amongst this group, but I also, think there's some other really good, obviously, top drivers in there. You got Kyle Busch, who's been really strong at Bristol. You got Chase Elliott. You got Kyle Larson, who's had some good numbers here. But I like Denny Hamlin. He's got outstanding momentum. I mean, first place at Darlington, second place at Richmond. He's in this area where he can win and keep out. I didn't really know what his strategy was going to be there in Richmond, but you saw he's in it to keep running good and keep his momentum good. And what better way to do that than go ahead and get another checkered flag and keep one of your rivals from advancing into the second round. So I like that. His last 6 races here at Bristol, he's been strong. He's got 1 win, 2 top 5s. He's got the 7th best average finish and the 7th best driver rating. But to me, it's more on what he's doing, what his team's doing. There's just really hot momentum. You do add that with a driver that generally likes Bristol Motor Speedway. So I like Denny Hamlin to be best amongst this group. For Group 2, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Kurt Busch. He's got 6 overall wins here. Yeah, his last one came in 2018 when he was riding with Stewart Haas Racing. So obviously a guy that will feel a lot of comfort coming to this racetrack, and he's going to need that with where he is in those playoff standings. And 4 of his last 5, he's had all of them finish in the last top 10. And then the one that didn't was last season. He finished 15th, but in stage 1 and 2, he was running both of those in the top 10. So he had a good night back in last September. I just expect him to have a really strong run. I mean, he needs one, quite frankly, to go ahead and secure his place in a round 2. I think he can do it again at a track he loves. He's got 6 wins here. When I looked at the other competition here in this group, Byron and Bowman, they've just generally been a mess in these playoff races so far. Keselowski and Truex. I mean, Keselowski I really don't trust, and Truex, he's just got really bad numbers here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So I went ahead and went with Kurt Busch. He's got good numbers. I think he'll show out this weekend and give himself a good race to go ahead and get up into round 2 of the playoffs. In Group 3, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Christopher Bell. Like what he's doing as well. He beats 3 of these 5 guys in this group on average finish and driver rating. He beats all these guys on momentum, though. I mean, like I said, Christopher Bell's in really good form right now. He was 3rd at Richmond, and he was strong at Darlington. Let's not really look at where he finished. Sometimes in NASCAR, you can obviously have where you finished doesn't really reflect how you ran that day. And Christopher Bell was a top car, all that night down at Darlington until he had that left rear issue. So I like what he's doing. He's in a good spot right here. He's in Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Joe Gibbs Racing will be strong overall. I expect a good showing really from Hamlin, Busch, and Bell. I think all 3 of those JGR cars will be good. So I like his opportunity to be best amongst this group. For Group 4, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ryan Newman. Look, he wins this group last week outside of Ross Chastain. And when you look at Chastain's number here at Bristol, they're just really bad. So I like Ryan Newman here in this group. His last 6 at this racetrack, he's got the 10th best average finish overall. He's got 2 top 10s and 2 top, I wrote that down. 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s. That's what it is right there. So like Ryan Newman to be best amongst this group. And then Group 5, always generally a tough group for me. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Daniel Suarez. It's just something tells me about Daniel Suarez. He's going to get it back on track. He was strong here earlier on this season. Obviously, I'm aware that they were running on dirt right there, and that's going to be hard to translate over to the concrete. But it's just something tells me he's going to have a good showing this weekend amongst these other drivers. Don't really trust a handful of them in this group. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Daniel Suarez here in Group 5. So what's going to be my top 3 to round out here this Jackpot Races at? Well, I think Denny Hamlin's actually going to take that checkered flag. I like everything about what Denny Hamlin's doing so far in his playoffs. I got nothing to, nothing's telling me that he can't just keep it going. So I do think Denny Hamlin will take that checkered flag. I think right behind him will be Chase Elliott. I think he'll be right behind him. Look, he had a great fight last week after that pit issue mishap there, and really battling back and giving himself a really good finish there at Richmond. He's been strong in here in Bristol over the years. He was battling Joey Logano a couple years back, and maybe could have won that race. I just like what he's been doing here at Bristol overall, and I really like what he's doing, currently right now. And then again, just a really good fight last week. And then to round out my top 3, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Kyle Larson. Look, his last 6 races here, he's got a 6th place finish, a 19th place finish, a second, 9th, and a 6th. And he did all that not in a Hendrick Motorsports car. So obviously he's in much better equipment. We obviously know just the pedigree and the driver that he is, obviously the season he's having. So I like Hendrick Motorsports to fill in spots 2 and 3 here, with Elliott and Larson being those 2 drivers. So that's how I'll do it right there on the Jackpot Races app. Let's go ahead and now move it over to the NBC Sports Predictor app. This is where we can win $10,000. They give you 3 stages. You got to pick the driver to finish best amongst each stage, and then you also got to give them as well. You got to give them a top 3. But also, guys, don't forget that I've created a league on this app where you can go ahead and compete against your fellow Winning Bet supporters, and I'm giving $25 each and every single week to the winner. If you want to get that league information, it's in this video description, so you can go ahead and grab that information from this video description, and would love to have you in that group competing against your fellow Winning Bet supporters. We take a look and see who won last week at Richmond. It was D-Barb. How about that? D-Barb. That should sound familiar. D-Barb won last week, so back-to-back wins there for D-Barb, coming in this week with 65 points. I do now know it's a she after she hit me up and got her winnings last week. She correctly predicted Martin Truex Jr. was going to be the winner. She correctly predicted Denny Hamlin was going to be the winner. So D-Barb, on a little bit of a heater yourself. Maybe I need to get you to give me these winning picks for this week's race at Bristol. So keep it up, D-Barb. Keep on going at it. And for everybody else, obviously you can see you were right there, right behind D-Barb, and perhaps this week will be your week there to get the money there on Bristol. I am going to go ahead and mix it up here just a little bit. I'm not going to copy my Jackpot Races app to a T, so I'm going to mix it up just a touch here. So in stage 1, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Denny Hamlin. For stage 2, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Chase Elliott. For stage 3, I'll go ahead and give it to Kurt Busch. It's really my top 3 where I'm going to go ahead and mix it up. I'm going to give you the winner. I'm going to give it to you as Kyle Larson. For second place, I'll go ahead and give it to you as Denny Hamlin. And for third place, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you as Kurt Busch. All right, let's now move the discussion over to our final app where we can win $1,000 up over on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. This is where they give you 6 questions, answer all 6 questions right, and split that $1,000 prize. Question 1 is, which driver will finish in the worst position at the end of stage 1? It's Michael McDowell. He will obviously not be a playoff driver, I don't believe, at the end of this round. He's in a win to get in situation. About all he can do is wait to me. I think it's like 32 or 34 points back. I believe that's the correct number if I recall correctly. So yeah, he's got to win this race, but yeah, I don't think he's going to have a good showing this weekend at all. Question 2 is, how many number of Fords will finish in the top 5 at the end of stage 1? I've got 1, and I think it will be Joey Logano. I think Joey Logano will be the only Ford up in the top 5 at the end of stage 1. Question 3 is, which driver will finish in the best position at the end of stage 2? I'll go ahead and give it to Denny Hamlin. Question 4 is, which Joe Gibbs racing driver will finish in the top 5 at the end of stage 2? I'm going to go ahead and give it to more than one. I think you'll see Hamlin and Bell. You could obviously maybe even have Kyle Busch up in there, so that gives you a little bit of leeway there, whether it's maybe Hamlin and Busch or Hamlin and Bell. But I definitely have Hamlin in it, and I think you'll get one more in it. And if I had to predict, I think it'll actually be Bell. I think Bell is the one that'll get up in there with him. Which Hendrick driver is question 5 will finish will have the most points at the end of the race? I'm going to go ahead and give it to Chase Elliott and kind of follow my prediction there for the Jackpot Races app, where I had Chase Elliott finish in second place. So go ahead and give me Chase Elliott. And the last question is, which driver will finish in the worst position? It's going to be William Byron. William Byron will not be finishing on and advancing on to round 2. Just kind of been a mess overall this playoffs. Some of it obviously hasn't been his fault, getting caught up in some accidents, getting caught up in some mechanical issues that obviously sent him up in the wall there in Darlington. But when things are kind of going up against you, things are going up against you, and I think that'll kind of continue here at Bristol. So I got William Byron finishing in the worst position. All right, guys, that's how we're doing it this week at Bristol. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's just going to be really, again, me personally, maybe you guys found Richmond entertaining, but there were parts of that race where I had to kind of get up and, pace around the living room because I was kind of dozing off a little bit. That's how boring I thought that race was. But I don't think you're going to get that here at Bristol. I think we're in for a really good show. It's the last playoff race here in round 1. I think the boys are going to put on a good, entertaining race for us here. So make sure you enjoy that race. Otherwise, guys, go ahead and hit that like button. If I've been of help to you, let me know I've been of help to you by hitting that like button. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back here on the next contest. That was a lot of fun. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and good luck with your picks. If interested in placing real sports bets, then check out my latest daily free sports betting video in the bottom right corner. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next contest.